This is Mrs. Naslund, and today we'll be doing Unit 7, Lesson 5, Estimate to Check Quotients. Our learning target for today is, I can understand how to estimate the size of a division answer in order to check its accuracy. So estimating is a great way for us to be able to check and make sure that our answer makes sense. So there are two methods that we can use, and we're going to talk about both of those methods, and then we'll practice them. So method number one, the first thing that you do is that we round the quotient. Okay, now remember the quotient is the answer. So we round the quotient and then we multiply. And we want to make it nice and easy for ourselves. So we're going to round it to a number that we can easily multiply by 2. So I'm going to change this to 20. That's a really easy number. And then we're going to go ahead and multiply the quotient and the divisor. So we're going to do 20 times 3. And we end up with 60. And then the last step is to compare the answer to the dividend, okay, the thing that we were dividing into. So I got 60 and it was 56. So they're really close to each other, and that's what we're looking for, is that they're really close. And so yes, I think that it's a reasonable answer to say that when you take 56 divided by 3, you get 18 remainder of 2. Okay, it's a reasonable answer. So we can use that to check. Now, the other way that we could do it, let me erase this, is we can kind of do it backwards. So in method 2, we actually round the dividend. We round it to something that we know 3 will go into easily, because that's our divisor. So I look at this number and I'm going to round it to 60. Okay, I'm going to round it to the 10th spot. I'm going to round it to 60 because I know that 3 goes into 6 really easily. And then I actually solve. So I say, okay, I'm going to just rewrite the problem. So I'm going to really do 3 into 60. And I know that 3 goes into 6 2 times. And remember, this is the mental math one. I just know if I see that 0, I just add it back on. So it goes in 20 times. And again, my answer here is really close to my answer, 18 remainder of 2. So I am going to go that my answer is probably correct because it is really close. So you can see how you can use rounding and estimating to actually check your work. All right, let's go ahead and try one more. All right, so the next problem here too, it says 463 divided by 5 is 92 remainder of 3. So first I'm going to try method 1. I'm going to round my quotient. And I want something that's easy to multiply. I want it to be, I'm going to go with 90 instead of 92. And then I go ahead and multiply that out. So I do my 90 times 5, step 2 of method 1. And I like it when I multiply things that end in 0 because it makes it really easy. I know that 9 times 5 is 45. And 5 times 0 is 0. So we get 450, which is really pretty close to that 463, okay? So, and again, it's rounding, it's estimating, it's not going to be exact. So what you're looking for is that your numbers are close, okay? And those are pretty close numbers. All right, let's try it with method 2. So again, in method 2, instead of rounding your quotient, because you're not always going to know your quotient, sometimes you're not, and you'll see in the next problems, we're not going to actually know what the answers are. But you're going to round the dividend instead. And again, you want to round it to something you know 5 goes into. So I'm going to actually round this to 450 because I know that 5 goes into 45 an even amount of times. Okay? So I'm going to try 450. And I put my 5 out front, and I go ahead and do my division. 5 goes into 45 9 times. 9 times 5 is 45. I subtract, get my 0, I bring it on down, bring my 0 down, and then I divide again. 5 goes into 0 0 times, and then 5 times 0 is 0, so I have no remainder. So I get 90. Which again is really close to my quotient, what was 92 remainder of 3. So I'm going to say that they're close enough then I'm going to say that my answer is correct. Now, if I would get an answer like 180, then I would know that I made a mistake somewhere in my long division. Okay, if you get an answer that's really far off from what you have as your answer, you know that you made a mistake. Okay, so you can use rounding and estimating to check your work. All right, so now in here, it says go ahead and use, oops, it says use any method, then check your answer by rounding and estimating. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve the first one here. 3 goes into 29. So 3 goes into 2 0 times. Now I have to think of how many times does 3 go into 29. And I'm going to say 9 times. 3 times 9 is 27. Do my mother step multiply. Now I do my sister step subtract. I get 2. And I can't bring it on down, so that's my remainder. Remainder of 2. So now let's check our work. So I'm going to have to use our method 2 because I could use this one now too. I guess now that we've solved it. So we'll use method 1 this time. So I'm going to go ahead and round this number. And I'm going to go ahead and keep it, maybe I'll round it up to 10. So I'm going to say 3 times 10. So again, I rounded this one to 10, and I'm going to multiply it by my divisor. And I end up with 30, which if I look at my dividend, they're really close. So I'm going to go that my answer is correct because I got really close. All right, let's go ahead and do one more example here. All right, remember my first step is going to be to solve it. So 6 can't go into 3, so I'm going to do 6 into 4. I'm doing my divide step, or 6 into 34, sorry. And I'm going to say 5 times. Then I'm going to multiply. 6 times 5 is 30. Then I get to do my sister subtract. End up with 4 as my remainder. And I can't divide 6 into that. I can't bring anything down, so it's 5 remainder of 4. All right, this time we're going to try method 2 to check our answer. So we're going to round our dividend. So I'm going to round something that I know that 6 goes into. I'm going to round it to 36 because I know 6 goes into 36. Round it to 36. And I'm going to put my 6 out here. 6 goes into 36 6 times. 6 is really close to my 5 remainder of 4, so I know that my answer is correct. All right. So again, you can use your dividing and your estimating and rounding to check your work to make sure that you're correct. All right, the last thing that we're going to look at today is trying to decide if we have to find an exact answer or if we can estimate an answer. So for an exact answer, if a problem asks for an exact answer, then you will have to do the calculations. So here's an example. The school cafeteria prepares 3,210 lunches each week. The same number of lunches are prepared 5 days each week. How many lunches are prepared each day? So what do you think? Do you think that this is an exact answer or an estimating answer? If you say exact answer, you're right, because they want to know exactly how many lunches are prepared each day. Okay? They want an exact answer. Let's read an estimating version. Remember, if it's an estimating version, look for words like uses about or approximately, almost, or nearly. Those are those estimating words that hint you to the point that you can estimate. You don't have to find the exact answer. So for example, Milo has to read 229-page book. He had 8 days to finish it. About how many pages should he read each day? About, right there, is one of our estimating words. Again, about, approximately, almost, or nearly are examples of those estimating words. So I want us to go ahead and read these problems below, and I'm going to have you choose if you think it's an exact type of answer or an estimating type of answer. You don't have to solve it, just want to know if it's exact or estimating. So here's the first one. Sam bought a board that was 72 inches long to make a bookshelf. He wants to cut the board into 3 equal pieces and use one for a shelf. How long will each shelf be? So go ahead and tell me if you think it's an exact or estimate. You can pause and think about it. All right. If you said exact, write on, because they want to know exactly how long will each shelf be. It doesn't say about how long, approximately how long. It doesn't say that. It wants to know how long it should be, so it's an exact answer. All right, let's try this one over here. Sam's mother baked 62 muffins for his class. There are 18 people in Sam's class, including the teacher. About how many muffins should each person get? So I want you to go ahead and pause the video and tell me if you think it's an exact answer or an estimated answer. All right, if you said estimated answer, great work. The key word here is about how many. Again, if we see that, we know that it's an estimate. You could actually round and then estimate your answer instead of actually doing a long division to figure out exactly your answer. So, great work. Today we talked about how we can use rounding and estimating to check our work. And then we also talked about being able to decide if it's an exact answer or an estimated answer when we're looking at word problems. You may go ahead and get started on your homework.